Alright, moving on to our next Patreon request, and this one comes from Tom Hibbert, who asked me to do a three-way crossover between Hilda, Kolchalk the Night Stalker, and Pet Semetary. Oh boy, let's see how this works out. But before we do, as always, if you guys would like to have a Patreon request done, just hit the link below, head on over to my Patreon, where you guys can start sending requests for videos to do here on YouTube. Just hit the third tier, and that'll allow you to do so. Anyway, so let's get started. So the story begins in Trollberg, and if you're wondering where we are show-wise, don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. So the story begins in Trollberg, and essentially what's going on is that Hilda is just having a day out. She's basically having, like, just a normal day out with her friends, and during which, like, she's not going on an adventure, she's just kind of like, I just kind of want to have a normal, like, for once in my life, I just kind of want a normal day. Like, I just kind of want to have a easygoing, no monster having, no turning into a troll kind of day. Like, she has that moment of, I think I just want to have a break for one day. So, from there, basically from there, sorry, I lost my train of thought. From there, while they're going through the streets, just having a little fun, they basically run into a man who has just been kind of like wandering the streets taking pictures, and that person is Kolchalk, the Night Stalker. And what happens is that Carl, like, bumps into him, and he's like, "Oh, sorry, kids. I'm just kind of like, I'm new here. I'm visiting." And they're like, "Oh, cool. Are you an American?" And he's like, "Yeah, I am. Name's Carl Kolchalk. I'm a reporter from New York." And they're like, "Cool. What are you doing here?" And he's like, "Well, I have a knack." Well, Carl goes like, "I have a knack for investigating unknown and kind of paranormal events. And from what I hear, your town is very much in that vein. Like, your town is very much full of paranormal oddities." And they're like, "Yeah, did you not see the trolls outside the town?" And he's like, "The what outside the what now?" So while they're talking, while Carl is like trying to get the scoop from Hilda, Twig, her pet deer fox, like wanders away, like just kind of like sees something they like and follows it, like sees like a little fairy, just kind of like, "Hi, come on." So Twig, while Hilda's distracted, Twig leaves and just kind of like wanders out into, basically wanders out into a street. And the next thing Hilda hears is a screech and a thump and an "Oh my god!" And they're like, "Wait, where's Twig? Twig!" And that's when they see it. Twig is dead. And of course, Hilda's heart just breaks immediately. And Carl is like, "Oh my god, I'm sorry. Oh my god, I am he's horrified by all this." Hilda, of course, is just in agony over this, and they're like, there's got to be a way to like bring him back, right? So Carl is like, "I feel bad because I distracted the kid, so I'm just gonna go. Like, I'm gonna go and leave for right now." But there's nothing really because there's really nothing he can do about any of this in this situation. There's honestly nothing that he can do to help in this matter. So Hilda goes to the librarian and is basically like, "Hey, do you know any? I know you're a witch. Do you know any spells that can help? Can bring Twig back?" And they're like, "No. I mean, there is one way. Like, there is one way to like bring Twig back, but I would not recommend it because it's not right." And Hilda's like, "No, you've got to tell me. You've got to tell me what it is. Like, if there's a way to bring Twig back, you've got to tell me." And she's like, "Okay." So they're outside of Trollberg, in like the far north part of the forest. There's a pet cemetery. There is a unnatural ground there's a special kind of ground there that brought that kids ages ago used to use to bring their pets back. But the thing is, Hilda, the reason why I don't want you to do this is because if you bring them back, they don't come back normally, because sometimes dead is better. And of course, like in the library, Kolchalk is there and he's reading up, like doing paranormal research. And when he saw that Hilda was trying, like talking to the librarian, he's like, "Oh, interesting. Well, I feel bad for hurting that kid, for causing that inadvertently causing that kid's pet to die. And who knows, maybe I can get a scoop out of this." So Kolchalk comes out of the show, is like, "Hi everyone, I couldn't help but overhear about this, magic." This magical pet cemetery. I'll go with you. So they all go. They bury Twig, and they're just like, "What do we do now? We wait." So they all go home, and Kolchalk brings up the fact that it's kind of funny. Like, I remember hearing about somewhere in a place called Ludlow, Maine, about a similar place. Like, the Native American tribes' lands were cursed by some dark spirit, and it was said to have brought back people back from the dead. Like, I heard some about some dad used it to bring his kid back or something. It's very similar to that. So sure enough, the next day Twig comes back, but Twig is all like maggoty and their hair's all matted, horns broke, and it's just snarling. And it's like, "Twig, it's me, Hilda. You remember me, right?" Twig just snaps at Hilda and just starts like being feral and causing all kinds of chaos. Just running around biting people, snarling, snapping, and they're like, "Well, what do we do? Like, how do we fix this?" And Carl's like, when I read about the whole thing in Ludlow, there was no, they never said anything. Like, they never said anything about this. So Carl sends basically is trying to figure out what can they do to reverse this, because he even said he never really heard the end story of that whole Creed family incident, so he can't really say if there was a way to fix it or if there was some way to reverse the process. So they're all trying to figure out what to do, what are the what can be done. Essentially, what can be done to reverse this. And they go back to the librarian, and she's just like, "Well, there is a spell I can use to fix this, but you gotta catch him first. Purify his soul. Basically, there's a spell, but it's gonna take a lot out of me, but I think I can use it to purify Twig's soul, because the ground's tainted." So Carl and Hilda go out into the city to look for Twig, because he escaped and is causing all kinds of shenanigans. Essentially, they do eventually trap him and bring him back, even though Carl does get fucked up a lot in it. And librarian does the spell, and in order to do it, they have to use they have to use purity to counter the darkness. So they have to use Hilda's purity and basically her love for Twig to purify all the tainted earth from Twig's body, which they do. After which, Twig's fine, and Carl writes a story. It's while I didn't encounter any trolls in Trollberg, what I did encounter was something dark and disturbing. But at the same time, I also discovered true love. And sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, dead is better. So there you go, guys. That is the three-way crossover that I really, man, that was tough. That was hard to string together. Anyway. So once again, I'd like to thank Tom Hibbert for this Patreon request, and you guys tell me in the comments below, what did you guys think of it? Just comment below, let me know. Other than that, hope y'all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.